Have you ever gone through a patch in your life where everything just felt kind of uncertain, uncomfortable even? Like the very ground beneath your feet was shifting and you just couldn't quite figure out why? Well, listen, you are absolutely not alone here. Throughout human history, some of the greatest figures experienced this exact same phenomenon. So today, in this explainer, we're going to dive into an ancient blueprint of character forging. We are taking a sweeping historical journey through 7 distinct signs that prove your life isn't actually unraveling at all. Instead, you're stepping into an age-old process of profound preparation. Are you falling apart or being prepared? Man, that is a powerful question to ask yourself when things get tough. I mean, our modern instinct is to just assume we're falling apart, right? We think, oh no, I've made a terrible mistake, or that random chaos has just taken over the steering wheel. But ancient texts and sweeping historical narratives, they offer a completely different lens. They challenge us to deeply self-reflect and kind of reframe these struggles. What if this isn't random chaos at all? What if this is actually the opening chapter of a legendary ancient preparation process? Well, let's find out by looking at the signs. Section 1. An ancient blueprint revealed. Let's look back at how legendary figures historically had to outgrow their pasts to step into their destiny. Okay, so here is the very first sign of this ancient blueprint, and it's a big one for your own self-reflection. It's the sudden loss of old appetites. Think about it for a second. Have you noticed that things you used to just love don't move you anymore? The TV show you couldn't wait to binge, the hobby that consumed your whole weekend, or even certain conversations that used to feel super fulfilling? Lately, they just feel thin, hollow even. You might even be beating yourself up, wondering, am I depressed? Is something fundamentally wrong with me? But ancient wisdom steps in here and says, no way, nothing is wrong. When you're being prepared for a historical kind of greatness, your grip on lesser things is deliberately loosened. To really wrap our heads around this, let's look at a classic historical archetype. Think of the manna in the wilderness. That was the daily survival food of the ancient Israelites. Now, at first, it was literally a miracle. But over time, it became ordinary and, well, pretty tasteless. Why? Because they were on a historical march toward a land of milk and honey. Their appetites had to change to match that greater destination. So if you're experiencing that hollow feeling today, it's not emptiness. It's simply room being made for a much greater purpose. Moving on to Section 2, the Great Pruning and Surrender. All right, sign number 2 is honestly a really hard one to face. Things are actively being taken away from you. Have you noticed this in your own life recently? Maybe a friendship just quietly faded out, or a job abruptly ended way before you felt ready to leave, or maybe a massive opportunity, a door that just slammed shut in a way you didn't choose and absolutely couldn't stop. It's totally human nature to read these sudden losses as a form of punishment, right? We assume we're being disciplined. But looking back at history, ancient wisdom reveals a wildly different truth. Take a look at the specific agricultural language used in this ancient quote from Jesus. Notice that the pruning doesn't happen to the dead, useless branches. Actually, the text explicitly says he prunes the branch that bears fruit so it will bear more. It's the living, fruitful branches, the ones with an actual future, that get cut back. So if things are being aggressively cleared out of your life right now, it is not discipline. It's preparation. The painful truth and the hopeful truth are literally the same thing here. Room is only made when it is about to be filled. Now, as all this pruning happens, it usually triggers sign 3, a fundamental shift in your internal dialogue. The way you speak to whatever higher power you believe in begins to change. Not too long ago, your prayers were probably a long, demanding wish list, right? But lately, if you deeply reflect on it, they've probably gotten quieter, shorter, and just vastly different in tone. We basically move from the demands, give me this, fix that, open this door, close that one, over to the surrender. We start saying, not my will, but yours, and genuinely, truly meaning it. This right here marks a critical milestone in your historical character development. This shift is one of the clearest indicators that an elevation is right around the corner. Why? Because the absolute most can be poured into hands that have finally stopped grabbing. You've officially transitioned from asking to trusting. That brings us to Section 3, Trials in the Hidden Wilderness, which leads perfectly into sign 4, Character Built in Private. This is the completely unsung phase of the blueprint. Literally nobody is clapping for you here. This is all about those silent moments where you choose honesty when a lie would have been so much easier. It's offering this really difficult forgiveness when you had every right in the world to hold a grudge. It's maintaining a quiet faithfulness to your path when just throwing in the towel would have been simpler. No one sees it, But this unseen, behind-the-scenes integrity, that is the very foundation of historical greatness. This is so brilliantly illustrated in the epic historical saga of Joseph. Think about his story. First came years of brutal testing as a servant in Potiphar's house. Then, even more years of silent waiting in a dark prison cell, completely forgotten by the world, with zero audience cheering him on. But those two hidden phases, they were absolute prerequisites for step 3, the palace. The silent furnace of refinement always precedes the public stage. So, if you feel like you're being refined in a furnace nobody else even knows exists, take heart. The forging process only tests those who are being prepared for something monumental. But then comes the hardest part of the whole shebang, sign 5, the silence. Now, we usually assume that silence means abandonment, right? But ancient wisdom redefines it using an amazing agricultural metaphor. Think of a farmer. When a farmer plants a seed, they don't go out and dig it up every single morning just to check if it's growing. They trust the dark of the soil. Your silent season is not a sign of being abandoned. It's vital, unseen root work happening deep underground where your eyes simply cannot follow. The ancient prophet Habakkuk captured this dynamic perfectly. He was told that his vision was for an appointed time, and even if it seemed horribly delayed, he needed to just wait because it would surely arrive. If you're reflecting on your own life right now and feeling the pure agony of a prolonged silence, let this be a profound reminder. Your appointed time hasn't been canceled. It's merely being carefully, methodically prepared. Section 4, Scars and the Stirred Nest, the final tests of the historical journey. This leads us right to sign 6. Old wounds are surfacing. Man, this one can make you feel like you are entirely going backward. Memories you thought were long buried and hurts you were absolutely 100% sure you had healed from suddenly come rushing right back to the surface. The immediate temptation is to believe you are regressing, right? Like you're failing at your own personal growth. But ancient history tells a very different story. This phase is really about redeeming the past to heal the future. These old wounds, they aren't surfacing to torment or shame you. Actually, they are being brought up to be cleaned out properly so they can finally, truly close for good. More importantly, the very thing that once broke you is often the exact thing required to reach someone else down the line. Your personal battle scars are being transformed into a historical testimony of hope for others. You have to heal properly so your story can serve its ultimate epic purpose. Which brings us to the final milestone, sign 7, an unexplainable restlessness. And look, this isn't just everyday anxiety or worldly discontent. We're talking about a deep, steady, undeniable pull. You suddenly find that you have an absolute inability to get cozy or settle into the life you used to fit into perfectly. Suddenly, everything just feels way too small. This exact feeling is perfectly captured by one of the most stunning metaphors in the ancient world. The eagle stirs up its own nest. This ancient metaphor describes how a mother eagle will deliberately tear apart the soft, comfortable lining of her own home. She makes it incredibly uncomfortable, specifically to force the young eagle to stop hiding, step out, stretch its wings, and finally soar. So as you self-reflect, if your life has grown deeply uncomfortable lately, consider that your nest is simply being stirred. It's not happening to harm you, it's happening to launch you, because you were created to fly. And finally, Section 5, your place in history. Let's rapidly recount the 7 milestones of this historical wilderness journey we've just traveled through together. 1. The loss of those old appetites. 2. The painful pruning where things are taken away. 3. The shift from demanding prayers to yielding surrender. 4. The hidden crucible of private character tests. 5. The silent waiting while your roots grow deep. 6. The resurfacing of old wounds for their final healing. And 7. That deep, nestering restlessness pushing you right toward the edge. There is a vital warning we need to take away from this explainer. Do not turn back when the preparation gets impossibly hard. So many people mistake the wilderness for a dead end, when in reality, it's a doorway. Do not give up in the very season that is about to give birth to your purpose. Remember our historical tale? This exact same grueling process is what shaped legendary figures like Moses, David, and Joseph in their respective deserts. The bigger the historical assignment, the deeper the preparation required. So of these 7 ancient signs, how many describe your life right now? I want you to really self-reflect and tally them up. If even a few of these resonate with you, the message is crystal clear. You are not falling apart, you are being prepared. So the real question I'll leave you with today is this. Are you finally ready to stop fighting the process, surrender to the silence, and discover exactly what you are being made ready for?